In this video, I'll buy every single subscription for top 3D AI tools, so you guys can decide which one is actually worth it. Hey guys, this is Steph again, and today we're gonna check top 10 AI 3D generation tools. Most of them are paid, but don't worry, I got us covered. We got all the subscription and we'll test max capabilities. Okay, so we'll have 3 tests. The first one, simple one, we'll take a tree frog, which is about simple colors, simple geometry, and see how nice it works. The second one will be more complex, as we'll targeting a multi-view and we'll use a real object such as this vintage Polaroid camera. I already prepared 4 views, which represents front, back, right and left. This is a real product and I'll see how close AI can get us there. And third one will focus on scene complexity. So for this purpose, I prepared small study room in a vintage style. But the main thing here is the amount of objects. So we'll see how precisely AI can outline them and put texture on top of it. Okay, so let's start with 3D AI Studio. So if you want to know more about it, you can take a look at my previous video. But today, let's focus on geometry and try to judge it objectively. Okay, so in 3D AI Studio, to create a 3D model, we go to Image to 3D, and then it's pretty simple. We select a model and select an image. So for best results, they recommend Prism 1.5, and I can confirm that. And for multi-view, there is a special model, and it's not the top model. But anyway, let's test both of them. We will add an image, and then you select advanced options. I would say basically what I really need is the texture quality, standard edited, let's set detail, PBR if you need it. So in some cases, like you don't really read materials, texture if you need it, and orientation. Also here you can set face limit, basically the poly count limit. Alright, and you press generate. Okay, so let's review the result. So the first one is frog, and here you can see it looks nice. It is a simple model, but still it's accurate. I can see some artifacts and texture on folds, but still they are not that critical as they can be. Also, let's review the mesh itself. So for that purpose, I will open it in Blender. Okay, so as we do not specify the poly count, like it actually creates it with very dense read. So as you can see, it looks like this unless you specify the poly count limit. For the next one, I used Prism V1 with multi-view support. The results are really so-so. So, well, it's not close at all, nor the front view, not the side view, and it is sort of collapsed. So I will not show you the poly count, as the object, I think, is not really there at all. And let's review the last one, the room. I can tell from this view that it lacks of attention to details. Things started to become simplified, even though it looks okay from far. Zoom in, like you can see, it really very simplified, it really tunish. It's up to you to decide if it looks good. For me, it's like 50-50. And let's take a look at mesh. Mesh looks pretty much the same, right? As you can see, like it's very dense because I did not specify it, and by default it decides that we need quite a lot of polygons. And I did choose detailed texture, so this is probably the mask capacity. Alright, so in general, I really like 3D AI Studio because for most of the purposes, they give really good results and the price is quite nice. For around 60 bucks, you can get 1000 credits, and each generation costs you approximately 25 credits. The only downside I see is that you can't really test it without paying. So far, I figured out that there is no free plan to test 3D generation, and you have to buy a subscription. Okay, so next one will be Hunyuan 2.1. This one probably one of my favorite because it's open source and you can run it locally without paying anyone. And I recorded full installation guide how to run it like on your computer with tips and comments. But today I will use this within another online tool that called Scenarios. They do have multiple models to test. I am particularly interested in Hunyuan 2.1. So the process here looks quite simple. The reason why I will test it here, because they run it at max capacity. When run locally on my computer with 12 gigs, I have to decrease the quality a little bit so my VRAM do not crash. But here we can see the max capacity of Hunyuan 2.1. So let's see the geometry it actually provides. The platform where I'm testing it right now is one of the many. So if you'd like Hunyuan 2.1, you can use it here, or you can go to another platforms like Sloyd.ai and so on. Let's take a look at first model, and here is our frog. Yeah, it is simpler than we saw before. What we can see is shading problems. It can be easily fixed in Blender, but still a little bit annoying. And we can also see circle underneath. This is related to background removal. This service apparently doesn't have it included, so that's why we see this sort of artifacts. But in general, we do have our frog pretty much okay. I don't see really like big artifacts, and texture resolution looks low. Let's move to our next example. This is camera. So what we can see is like it keeps proportion. So the overall geometry is way better as in previous example. We can see the shape is okay. The PBR material here doesn't really make much sense, and again, like this edginess is really a bit annoying. And this was created from one image because Hunyuan 2.1 do not support multi-view so far. Let's take a look on the mesh. You can see it fits 40K. For AI generated, it's okay, but polygon distribution is still so-so. And the last example is our room. What I can see so far, that the objects are cleaner, so you can see like there are no artifacts here. Well, this is artifact, but it also looked like a shadow sort of thing. But I can see that it was baking texture from some perspective, and that's why we have this one. Even though I only see big artifacts there and there for texture, and yeah, and this one is significant. And again, like this one is like basically free one. And yeah, face limit by 40K, so it fits 40K. So it's not terrible. It's quite operatable, I think. So my thoughts on Hunyuan 2.1, yes, it's not perfect, but most of the cons are covered by its open sourceness and that we can actually run it locally. So guys, take a note. Our next participant will be Ivo3D, and for this one I also created a video before. This one is known by 4K textures, and this is the key feature that they're promoting. So what we need to know is that it doesn't support multi-view, so we'll be testing like by one image. It is very simple to create. You basically either describe your model by text, or we need to select an image. Then you can select poly count, and you can select 4 texture options, which is like 1K, 2K, 4K, and real 4K. And I must admit that this is very expensive, because for minimum subscription you get 1000 credits. Real 4K costs 110, which means like just 10 generation. Here's our first generation, is a frog, and it textures indeed detailed, and I'm not sure if this is the accurate texture of a frog, but oh my god, like this is really detailed. It still, however, has artifacts like here. So as for geometry, it looks quite fine, so I can't complain. Like looks normal. I think it's like equal distribution. I don't see like any anomalies like in Hunyuan, so like looks good for me. Let's take a look on the camera. Well, here we have absolute failure. I think it doesn't follow exactly for my image reference, so not acceptable. And let's take a look on the room. Now we can see the downside of this model, right? So it is detailed. You can see, you can take a look on the wall, and right there's like pattern is so detailed. But what's the point if the composition itself looks so messy and, well, plenty of artifacts? This is not usable. As you can see, the complex scenes, multi-views, or detailed accuracy is not about this platform, but in some cases, as this frog, it can deliver some incredibly detailed texture, right, on some simple objects. And I would say it is quite expensive, 100 credits when you get only 1K per subscription, and subscription is not really cheap. And the next one will be Hunyuan 2.5. So I bet you heard of it many times, and I know there are many fans. So let's take a look how good it is. So the good thing here is that it is free, but with daily limits. They give you 20 credits each day. You just need to register by your email. You go inside and you will have 20 daily credits, which is amazing. I do not know about paid plans so far, which is probably a downside if you want to use it at scale, but perhaps it's coming soon. They basically have text to 3D and image to 3D with single and multi images. So we'll take test on pause. You basically upload the image, you select the model. I think 2.5 is the only choice right now. You select the amount of trees, and then you select if you want to do a texture or you want to do it step by step. As it is free, it will take a while, an average 10 minutes. It is good. I can say like the shape is nice, but textures is too simple. Let's take a look at the geometry. It is dense. This is very dense. I did not specify that I want low poly or high poly, but yeah, I mean, it's fine. Nothing special. Let's take a look on a camera that I created from multi-view. Again, like this model supports multi-view, so the images are used. It's fine. The overall shape is not that bad. Small details is not expected to be nice. Well, common problem across all AI tools. And the mesh will be basically the same again, as I not specify. It will be just dense, high poly. And our last example is room. Well, with this one, I was actually surprised because this one looks more accurate. The artifacts are really small, no major artifacts, right? This is amazing. Some strange thing here. Yeah, we can see like here, the things starting to go weird, but yeah, I'm impressed. Fairly impressed, not bad. So biggest advantage here again, guys, is free. 20 credits a day. I mean, you probably will not use that much on an everyday basis. And in my opinion, it's not the best, but it's really good. And they also do have some another amazing stuff. Auto retopology, rigging, animation, texture generation. They just announced that you will be able soon to create 3D spaces. I'm looking forward to test it. Next one will be Hyper 3D Rodin. So currently they do version 1.3 and the interface here is very minimalistic. So how it works, like you select an image or multiple image, then you press generate, and here also you can choose a mode. So for detailed objects, they suggest focal mode, default for most of the cases, 0 for low poly objects, and speedy for some fast generation. The cool thing here is that every generation basically goes in steps. So as a first step, you need to confirm geometry. The good thing here is that for basically 0.5 credit, they allow you to redo it 20 times. The bad thing here is that the results will not really vary too much. It will be pretty much the same. So we can choose triangle, quad mesh, etc. Let's confirm it for now. So as the next step, you generate a texture, and after a texture generated, you can redo it up to 6 times playing with the parameters. In this case, it makes more sense because changing these parameters will really might be significant in a way the texture is created. And when then you confirm, it will create a texture and you will be able to export it in various ways, right? With 2K, 4K textures. 4K textures basically is only here and in YW3D, as I know. Like that's the highest resolution so far. So let's review the results. Here is our room created from multi-view. It's interesting because some objects are good, but there are many things missing. Black texture, there is no fire in open fire. Something weird happening here. The chair goes into the cabinet. Wow, this is a problem, right? This one is so fairly. Just so you have the idea of the mesh, I opened it in Blender and here is how it looks like. Nothing impressive. The only thing I can see is that they do have marked seams, which I guess needed for some internal purposes and for UV maybe. Well, nothing impressive, and again, like you can control it. Let's take a look on the frog. So here how it looks like. I think like this one is way better, and I really like the texture here, like the PBR texture, right? It really makes sense. So as we can see, the simple objects really works good. And the last one, let's see how good it works with real objects. Well, it really takes care about shape, but texture has like a lot of problems. What is this? This piece, I don't know. Zero text. This is just an imitation of something, and yeah, it's just basically missing. It is sort of close, but yeah, you definitely can't use it anywhere. So this is how it is. As for price, I would say is one of the most expensive models, as each generation with texture will cost you around bucks. You pay $24 for 20 credits, right? With discount. And again, like basically each credit is around $1. But the good news is that you can use it for free and you will receive 5 credits on registration. So if you like the results, give it a try. Guys, before we move on, I have an announcement. So me and Mr. Mark, we created the Discord and X channel, and we inviting you to jump in. In Discord, you'll be able to chat with me, ask some questions, and I'm actually trying to build a community. I'll be helping with stuff like Comfy UI and sharing some insight in advance. And as a bonus, I compiled a detailed spreadsheet about all top models that I used, about their prices, their pros and cons, and my rates. It is absolutely free. I only ask you to join my X and Discord. Thanks, and continue. Next one, Tripo. These guys do really make a lot of noise. What do they have on their website? They do have a simple AI generation, and they recently come up with the studio. So basically you'll end up on this, and let's generate 3D models. 2 options like one click, build and refine. Build and refine is for step-by-step process. I find it a little bit complicated and not really working. One click, in my opinion, works more stable, so we'll be using it, and we'll use image to text, right? It works very simple. Just send an image, select the style, optional, private, smart, low poly if we really need a low poly model. We can control the poly count here. Let's set to auto, and we can choose HD texture. Now, Tripo is available to test for free, and they do provide some credits, but some features like HD texture, like multi-view, they're covered by premium. So practically you'll need to buy subscription to do proper testing. So I already did all the runs. Let's review the results. So here is our frog. Okay, so the frog is not bad. Yeah, I think it's fine. Obviously some artifacts here and here. Let's take a look on the mesh. The mesh is very good. I could complain on many things, but the mesh is really good. And what I can say, Tripo do really advanced in creating low poly models. Let's take a look on room. Well, here is a fail. There's many things I don't like here, right? So first of all, the texture. Why these lines are everywhere? Like why? I did not see it in any other model, like lines. Why? Open fire is half open, half fire here. I think it's because of the algorithms, like the projection algorithms for texturing they use. This is very bad. And mesh here is also very dense, right? So you can see here it is, right? And our last example, how good it is with multi images. This is bad. Side views are sort of ignored. This is not good. Right, so it is what it is. About the pricing, so the good thing, they do have free trial, like they give 600 credits on registration. The bad thing, most of the coolest features covered by paywall. One generation approximately costs 30 credits. The minimal plan, you buy 3000 credits, right? So it's about 100 generation per $20. So if you like it, give it a try. We are moving on. Next one, Hitem 3D. This is really a shining star. I really like these guys, and I created a video about Spark 3D, which is basically the same. The Spark 3D is a model, and the Hitem 3D is a platform. Their USP was about most detailed geometry, and that is true. I mean, it might be not as perfect as it can be, but again, like this is very, very impressive. And they recently released a texturing mode, which is amazing. So let's give it a try. So it looks very simple, right? You add an image, you select if you want a texture or not, and you press generate. And they do give you free credits to test it out, and you can create 2 textured high resolution models after registration. They give you 100 credits. Let's start with simple frog. I would say like geometry, it's like detailed too much. Right? It should not be detailed. It should be simple, right? And these edges are not making it look nice. And my blender is almost lagging as it is so dense. Wow, take a look at that. Like it's like 2 millions. Okay, yeah, so this platform is about details, and we cannot control the poly count, and it will be always detailed, but in some cases it actually makes sense, right? So we definitely use it only for highly detailed meshes. So there will no multi-view, and I created camera from one view. Same problems with text. Again, like for texture, and they probably use the same solution, as this is not their main feature. For this one, I would say so-so. Good, not bad. But what I was surprised with is the room. Just look at this. This is really, really good. Probably the best one for today. The only problem is floor. Chair is nice. Wall with bookshelf and a globe is nice. The open fire is almost nice. There's some artifact there, but it's almost nice. There are artifacts here and something strange on the table from this backside. Yeah, so it's not perfect. 100% not perfect. This is really interesting, right? So we do have 2 million faces and 4K texture. The only problem here is that it's quite expensive if you will use it at max, right? So again, like 50 credits to create one texture at high resolution mesh. 1K you will get for 10 or 20 bucks, right? So I would say it is expensive, but if you use it only for geometries, which is their main strength, I think it can worth it. And I did a complete review of Spark 3D before in my video. You can take a look on that, and I was really impressed with the results. Next one, Meshy. These guys also make a lot of noise. They're still making a lot of noise, and I don't really understand why. I'm really waiting when they roll out an update or something, so I'll be impressed as everyone else around there. So they do have quite nice infrastructure, but the main thing, creating 3D models, I'm not really impressed. So we'll go to image through 3D. We'll end up here. You can create it from text or image, right? You can basically select an image. There is not much options. You can select multi-view and add more images. Basically add a name, select license, symmetry, the model. Basically on this model makes sense, and you generate. It will create 4 meshes with an option to retry the geometry, but it is more than enough to understand like this is like the max level, right? Then you basically press it and select the target poly count or final mesh, and if you want the texture or not. In total you'll spend 20 credits, right? So here is the results review. It looks something like this, and this is probably the worst one for today. Somewhere it looks okay, but in general it looks awful. Let's take a look on same on the camera. Well, this is I mean, you cannot take money for this, right? When there is a Hunyuan 2.1 that is free, that delivers like results way better than this. Like, it's illegal. Let's take a look on the frog. And again, yeah, it's fine, but the amount of artifacts is probably the highest. And the cost is actually high if you think about it, like 1K credits for Pro, which is around 50 generation with textures. In my opinion, it's overpriced and they really need to improve. Next one is Sloyd.ai. And this is something I found very interesting. It's very simple platform, and they recently introduced image to 3D. There are not much of options. You basically select image to 3D, you select a file, and you have only 3 options: high quality, low poly, 3D print, right? You will use high quality and see how it goes. You cannot control much. No multi-view, no poly counts, no texturing. Just select an image and let it cook. As for results, I found it really interesting that it's not that bad. There are artifacts, same as Meshy, missing fingers, which is sad. One half look very clean and one half looks very bad. Let's take a look on the camera. Again, this one was created from one view and it's inaccurate, but it's clean. It's sort of clean, right? But you definitely cannot use it. But I just like it in a way that it's like just look clean, right? So for some cases, like maybe for 3D printing, it's like really nice. And the room is broken. But if we take a look on the texture, it's sort of interesting, but this is hallucinations. This is not what I have on my references, right? Like it's a completely different thing. Is the chair is missing here, so we can see there's 29k vertices. Let's take a look on the mesh. It looks something like this. Not really bad because it do add density only where it's needed, like on the details, and it doesn't add density on like flat surfaces, right? Which is okay, but the broken floor made my day, right? The bad thing here also is that you do not have free trial, so to try it I had to pay. The only good thing is probably that is not too much, right, compared to else, but the quality is also not that impressive. Okay guys, the next one is Common Sense Machine, also known as Cube. So these guys actually say they do have a lot. Idea to 3D world, image to 3D, chat to 3D, image to kit, which is basically part generator, retopology, retexture, animate, segment image, 3D video studio, Blender MSP. Well, basically they do a lot, right? Let's see if this actually looks good, right? So if we go to image to 3D, they offer a single view, multi-view, and image to kit, right? So I'm not interested in that stuff. We'll test single view and multi-view for today. And let's start with single view. How does it work? Well, we basically select an image, then it uploads it to server, and we fall into settings. So let's take a look. What settings do we have here? The credits are quite expensive here. So for 20 bucks you only get 100 diamonds, which is credits here. And let's say we want to create high resolution PBR, it will cost us 8 credits. For base and bake it, like base texture, it will cost us 2 credits. Let's see if it's good or not. We can set the poly count only in base and turbo. So I used the frog, and here is our result. So the keen eye immediately can see a strange colors, like you can see this one. This is artifacts from UV. Basically it looks like it was burnt, I don't know, like color burned, like I don't know. Alto frog is accurate. Textures is sort of weird. Okay, let's take a look on multi-image. And here is what we got. Well. They basically claim like this should be way better, but this is not even close. Well, the texture like is so bad. Also, the interesting thing is that it takes so long. Hunyuan 2.5, which is free, takes less time than this one, which is paid. This is probably my biggest disappointment for today. And here is what meant to be a highly detailed texture. Well, I don't think so. I don't know why it's so dark. I know the image is not the brightest one. The last time I tested it, like in my previous video 3 months ago, it was same awful. And this could be it, but I need to mention a few platforms that I will not test today because they are very limited, such as Spline, where you can create assets with AI, but basically they all are styled. And the pricing here is probably one of the most expensive. You will pay at least 30 bucks to use AI, and you will have 2000 credits. For one generation it's approximately 100 credits, and this is not really about creating 3D. Spline is good as a tool to create experiences like scenes and some stuff like you can run in web, etc. That's fine, but if in first place you're interested in creating 3D, this is definitely not your choice. Same goes for Luma Labs AI or Genie. There is nothing to compare here because the models here created are very simple, and this is actually free. You can go right now and play with it, but you will always receive something very simple like this. But if this is what you're looking for, give it a try. Guys, I really hope you liked the video. I spent quite a while, time and money, and I would really appreciate if you press like and subscribe button, and I'll try to make best content for you guys. See you soon.